Hey y'all, welcome to the Heart of the Podcast with MSTC. I'm Mel.
I'm Joseph.
George here.
Nicholas.
I
Fucking
said, I said, I
great.
said, I said I'm Nick already.
When?
You hear it. I
When?
literally did not hear it.
Nobody heard you.
Oh, okay. Well, I did say.
Do we wanna
this-
restart or
no,
keep
this
going?
is fine. This is fine.
No, this is
Great.
good. This is quality. This is good
We're
content.
recording remotely.
Yeah, we are giving a new style to this. We're trying remote, seeing how this goes. So maybe you'll hear more of it, maybe you won't. Nick, do you want to talk about why we've been absent for so long?
There's so many reasons. You went, didn't you? You went to the Paris, to the other place, and then I got sick, and then there's so many reasons. Like thousands of hundreds of reasons, dozens. I don't even
Yeah.
know. I don't even know what to describe. It's like every possible scenario. Joseph died, and then he came
Yeah.
back to life, and then he died again.
I'm here.
So
Yeah, he's back
yeah.
here again. Lazarus
Back.
back.
Yeah. It's been a lot,
Yeah.
I think it's mostly because it was cutting into. We were recording before playing or after playing, and it was really cutting into like our playtesting time. And I think ultimately this might be the best way to kind of keep on pushing content out for everybody, without sacrificing our playtime. I mean, not to say
Yeah.
that we're not gonna record when we're together every now and then, but I think this is a good alternative.
Yeah, this keeps X happy.
That's
He's
important.
the important person to keep happy.
He's our benefactor.
He's our
Yes,
boss,
he is.
I guess.
Number one supporter.
Well, so we've just been really pressed for time, so it's it's like when we're together, it's like let's actually do the thing. You know what I mean?
Yeah, I think that's
Yeah.
been one of our big focuses is while we're together, play and recording unfortunately takes up a lot of time. Because I mean, for y'all that do podcasts and listen to them, you know that it takes a very long time to set up, and that's something we did not factor in totally. So we just decided that we were going to move this to a digital format that is a little easier to record, and hopefully we can get out some more consistent podcasts. One thing that I did, so I think it's been quite a few months since we last talked about this. So why don't we talk about, because I think everybody's playing something different now. What are y'all playing right now? What are y'all building? What are y'all excited to do?
I guess I could start. I don't mind.
Sure. Yeah.
I guess what am I building? I'm currently building Keshtira, but I'm not really gonna play it until Photon Hypernova comes out. So I'm kind of hyped about that. I guess I don't think it's gonna be as dominant as Ishizu Tier is, but I think it'll be good.
I mean, I'll definitely be tier 1.
Yeah, I think it'll be good. And then in terms of what I'm currently playing, I've been swapping between a couple of things. I guess the last two times I played Yu-Gi-Oh, I played Sky Striker with Linkage. And before that, I was playing Exorcister a little bit, but I don't know how good that deck is currently with all the not graveyard happening. So it's really just been Exorcist. Oh, sorry. It's really just been Fluanderies and Sky Striker with Linkage. But I'm looking forward to Kashtira.
I like how you separate Sky Striker and then Linkage, like two whole decks.
Sky Striker plus Linkage. Actually, I have to buy the Bestial stuff for it because that seems to be the wave of how you play it. And then there's all the new things coming out. So Sky Striker's actually been pretty interesting. But and then Flu's Flu. I like Flu, but that's it.
Yeah. What about you, George?
I hate that you said Sky Strikers are interesting. Hate that so much. Like, a little bit of me died inside when you said that. So last time I was playing Math Mech, and I loved Math Mech, but then it really, really got, I guess, like power crept, and it went from like a tier 1 deck, tier 1.5 to like Rogue or maybe even below Rogue right now. So I had to switch over to Flow on the Reeds because I refused to play tiers or any of that Ishizu stuff. I was thinking about Catch Tier Up, but I don't know. I don't know I might just hold on to Flu for a while, just play that deck because it really annoys people, and if you're not in it to annoy people, then why are you playing?
Yeah, honestly, that's true. It's also like good. I feel like we should mention, like it's good. It's a good deck. It does well.
I've
Yeah.
been I myself have been on a Draco Slayer train. I
Mhm.
just like I don't know something about I like the art on cards, and I just like how they all look like half mechanical, or some of them are a pony, or you know.
Pony.
Yeah,
No, they are
yeah.
cool. Actually, I think that deck is neat.
But I've been having a lot of success with it. The combo lines just come down to me. It's really fun. It's a very toolbox deck, and I enjoy that sort of deck style. where it's like combo and toolboxy.
Nice. So I just picked up Dark World, specifically the Danger variant. I had been on Plunder Adventure for a bit. I was really enjoyed Plunder Adventure, and I'll probably swap between those two. But Dark World I took it to the first locals this past weekend, and while I didn't do the best, I did enjoy sort of the play style. It's one of the few like combo decks that I enjoy playing. So I'm probably gonna stick with that for quite a bit of time. One of the things that did happen recently, so we're recording this in December, and the OCG ban list came out. What are y'all's thoughts about that? That was a mega list. That was
Yeah.
really surprising.
So I think that it's what. Well, I guess I'll get to my other point afterwards. But I think that it's wow, right? It's like one of the lists that remind me of that 2019 ban list, the one that like
Mhm.
shook up the TCG. Like I think that we're in dire need of one of those, because the TCG ban list that we got was kind of It was all right. I mean, I don't think it really did much, but yeah, I'm excited to see where the OCG goes. After this, I mean, I'm very, very saddened to hear that the wind barrier statue is forbidden. They take everything away from me. Mystic Mind, wind barrier statue. I can never have fun when I play in this game.
Well, so here's what I say. I think in response to that. So first, agreed that list is pretty nice. I honestly like it. I think that Tier Laments is. I'm glad. I hope it dies over there. Honestly, but nevertheless, I'm mad that as long as we've been playing, because of COVID and then some other sales things, we've never had a ban list of any real substance. The only thing I remember really sticking out to me was like the meme of Change of Heart coming off. I was like, oh wow, yeah. But yeah, I mean, I think that the TCG right now, to me at least, is extremely stale. I don't find anything interesting about the meta at all. Um, I think that Spider Solitaire is more interesting than watching people mill. And Spider Solitaire is pretty great, honestly.
Yeah, that's pretty good.
But like I don't find anything about it remotely interesting. The rogue scene is nice though. Like our rogue matches with like Draco and like Exo and Striker and like Mathmech, those are like that's honestly really fun. But like the meta, I agree with you, George. It needs to be shaken up a lot. And I have a lot of other comments, but I'm just gonna save them. I'm gonna save them for
Yeah,
later.
I honestly think, I kind of love the meta right now, and the fact that you can see many decks that are like boiling under the surface of tier elements and sprites. Like once tier elements and maybe sprites are removed from the game or just notched down a little, you're gonna see all these decks like just gonna surface up and you're gonna be like, whoa, where did that come from? That's like many possibilities for a lot of decks. Like now we have so many different engines that we can play with. Adventure might make a return since that was never really kept on check. And also, I don't know if most of you noticed, but the Enchantress, she's now like a $10 card, where she used to be like a $40 card. So that's gonna be a little more accessible, and nobody's banned anything for that package. But what I'm most excited for the list, the OCG list, might be that we might be getting Ancient Fairy Dragon, and that's
Mm.
like very interesting. It's generic level 7.
We have to talk about that though because they are reworking the text for that card, so it's different
Yeah,
than the
yeah, it's
text
just an
currently.
errata.
Yeah.
Yeah, it is cool though.
Yep.
I
Yeah.
like that card. It's pretty.
I think. I mean, while I don't like tier 0 formats, I will note that as much as people are upset about the state of the game and the tier elements stuff, because like I said, I'm not a big fan, but we've only had Ishizu tier elements for like a month and a half, and while it is
Mhm.
hyper dominant, the OCG had been dealing with it for months, and so I think it's an unrealistic expectation to think that we're going to get something like that in the TCG quickly. But that those are my thoughts around tier. But when I was talking to a couple people at locals this past weekend, and I thought it was really interesting, this ban list, because, and it could be that I'm just not as familiar right now, but I know tier was dominating the OCG even with like I think most, if not all, of the Ishizu cards at like 2 or 1, and some of the tier elements cards at 2 or 1. But I can't think of an archetype that's out in the OCG that's sort of the next in line to dominate. Like
In the
before
OCG, you said? Sorry. In
yeah,
the OCG?
in the
Yeah.
OCG. So
Mhm,
like
mhm.
the ban list hit Tier Elements and Kashtira, who Kashtira for us is the next sort of big thing to come up. But I
Who's
don't know
Sprite?
of anything. I think I guess I guess it's going to default potentially to Sprite, but I feel like there's not an archetype that they have in the OCG that's like sort of the like what Ishizu tier was to us, where we're like in the TCG we see it over the horizon as like that's going to be super dominant. There's not. I don't see a deck that's like. I think it's going to be what's going to happen is exactly what you were talking about, Joseph. It's going to be like people have been under Ishizu tier for so long in the OCG that now you're going to see all of these other decks sort of burst out of like this is what's gonna be something that people are going to play.
Yeah.
Um, and then just looking at some of the things that they're peeling off, it makes me think that there might be some new support coming out for some of these things. So like Galtea came to 2, Infernity Launcher came to 2, and
Inverted
sort of
launcher.
and like a couple other cards are coming off. So and it was also the first time that I saw that the OCG followed us or followed the TCG. Like I didn't realize that they had an unlimited that they had for Change of Heart still forbidden, and they had Steam the Cloak still forbidden, and those all came off. So I wonder if there's a sort of movement to try and get the ban list at least a little bit more similar. But yeah, I don't see a new dominant deck coming out, and that's like even a tier 1 status. I guess it's probably going to end up being Sprite or Flunder, but I think Flunder has a couple cards on the ban list in the OCG
Well,
as well.
are we getting deck builder sets like very soon? And like yeah, I think people not a lot of people have been talking about those deck builder sets.
Yeah, I think Amazing Defenders is the next
Right.
one. I'm excited for that one because Purity is coming in that, and the
I'm
EV
excited
archetype is like one. I
for
love
the
EV.
waifu one.
Of course you are. What else would you be excited for?
Yeah, I mean they're coming out, but I don't like. There's nothing in them that stands out to me as something that would be able to compete. To be
I think
honest.
Rescue Ace is like the best of the archetypes in there.
Yeah.
And it's
Yeah. There's
mostly they get a
PG
special summon
exclusive?
from hand.
there's also a lot of that there's new super heavy stuff that came out actually.
Yeah, yeah.
Yeah.
But
And also Photon Hypernova is gonna really bring out a bunch of old decks out of the woodwork.
Yeah.
yeah, so I think just the only thing I'd want to add, I guess, is what was I gonna say? So like we're mentioning Sprite a lot. Sprite is strong, but I don't think it's like not tier 0 over the top crazy. Like Sprite was fine, but it's not like this ridiculous ultra mega threat. Like it would be around probably, but I don't think it would be ridiculous. I mean, it
Well,
wasn't
they
even
did the
ridiculous
check
when
the
it came
toad.
out.
Yeah.
Yeah, and I thought it was. I mean, I thought it was fine after that. Honestly, it's not even that. It's fine to play against too. I never had a problem with Sprite, but like, I don't know. Tears like we'll get to it. I don't want to say it's a different discussion, but yeah, the ban list is like the one that just came out. I don't really like. I like Mist Mine being gone, but I didn't like that their solution to tier being so dominant was to just like be like, okay, nobody gets the graveyard anymore. I was like, okay, but like that makes a lot of decks that people really like a lot of rogue decks. You can't play them if you don't have the graveyard at all. And it's like I don't know. That was a really lazy solution to me. That was like to me that felt like a solution someone came up with at 458 when they were about to punch out. And I was like, wow. Like I don't know. I didn't like that. I really actually didn't like that, to be honest with you.
You're saying like bringing back all the cards that banish all the other cards?
I think that if like it's like weird to me because they acknowledged that tier was like a problem being so dominant, and then instead of addressing the problem, they just released a bunch of cards that don't let anyone use the graveyard. And I'm like, that's a really bad solution to that problem. You know what I mean?
Well,
Yeah,
here's
but
the
they're
thing also. Like you have to remember Konami's I mean, I guess to like a certain extent, yes, like they care about the competitive scene, but at the end of the day, they just want to sell products. So they're gonna continue. They're not gonna hit tiers until they sold enough product to where it's like, okay, now it's we're moving on to something else. Now we can hit this product. I mean, you know what I mean? They
Yeah, I
weren't.
know. I totally get that.
Yeah, and it's great. And it's funny because their end board is kind of mid. You know?
No, it's like all the stuff that it can do after the end board that
Yes,
like you
right.
know what I mean? It's not that's
Yeah.
what's so interesting about it is that we started playing when we quote unquote grew up playing in like in 2019 getting like competitive at the game. We were used to like big boards, but tier's not like that at all. It's really not.
I mean, some variations
Yeah,
do put
some
up a
variants do.
giant board, and
Mhm.
in what's the worst part about it, and I'm coming from someone that actually plays the tier, is that they play during your turn, and not like
Yeah.
Flanders where you're expecting, like, you know what's coming, like, oh, you're gonna, summon Ryza, oh my god.
Mhm.
You just put out like three more monsters with like several negations that also stick on the board,
Yeah.
and it's just overwhelming. So it's the fact that it's so tenacious, and
Mhm.
it
Yeah.
just you don't know what's gonna happen, but like it is gonna happen, if that
Can I?
makes
Is
sense.
it okay if I add something? This is maybe a little bit of a spicy take, but I'll like to add something if that's
Sure.
okay. So here's what I think actually. Uh, I I I played against you with using tier without Ishizu stuff, and it was strong and consistent, but it didn't like it was fine. I was like, this deck does a lot of things, but it's okay. Like it was fine. I actually the reason why I feel like I've been really not like I've been very not into Yu-Gi-Oh lately, and part of the reason is I've just been like way too busy at work, and I got sick a bunch of times in a row, and I haven't gotten to play with you guys. But all that aside, it's also like I have a lot of beef with the Ishizu cards, specifically. Not with tier, actually. I have beef with the Ishizu cards. And my beef with the Ishizu cards is that, first, they're ugly, but that's neither here nor there. Uh, I think they're ugly, but whatever. I think the problem is that they're so generic at manipulating the graveyard that it fucks with every strategy in the game unless you're playing a deck that doesn't care about the graveyard. So, like, when I'm thinking about decks I want to play, like new decks, right? I feel like I really want to play Naturia. I think that deck is dope, but I feel like I can't play a deck that has to use the graveyard at all because there's generic Ishizu stuff that just manipulates the graveyard, and
Yeah.
then you add the Bystials to that, right? I'm like, I can't play these decks. Like, and I think that's really bad design because the graveyard is so important, and they're like, oh, Ishizu can manipulate the graveyard and Bystials banish things. I can actually deal with the Bystials, that's fine. But the Ishizu stuff is like I have beef with those cards. I think that
They're
they're
generic target as opposed
uh,
to light and dark.
that's exactly right. And I like to me, if I'm being really honest, I feel like low key they're kind of ruining the game because I really honestly tier I had no problem with tier without the Ishizu stuff. I thought it was like just a really strong deck. And I like fusion cards, and I was like, you know what? Yeah, that's fine. But the Ishizu stuff, man, I don't like how it invalidates so many strategies. To me, that feels kind of bad. That feels a little bad.
And also the best counter to Ishizu is Ishizu. There's no
Yeah,
Or
like
Dweller.
yeah.
it's
So
funny.
like, so like or Dweller. So like that's my hot take is that I feel like I don't like that I feel like I have to play a deck that doesn't use the graveyard because that's like a core game mechanic, you know what I mean? I don't know. I have beef with the Ishizu cards. I have a problem
I
with
mean,
them.
you do play Flandres, which is a
Well,
deck
yeah,
that
but
doesn't
if
play
well, of
without
course,
a
but
Yeah.
graveyard.
if you think about it, right? You guys know me in real life. You know Flandres isn't my favorite deck, right?
Do we?
Yeah, I mean, I like Blue, but like, what do I like more than Blue? I really like Heroes, obviously, but I also like, I really like Sky Striker, and it's like, I feel like I can't really bring
Die
it.
a little bit inside when you say that.
I'm sorry. I feel like I feel like I can't really bring it to like an event that isn't like us hanging out because I'm gonna get Ishizu'd and I'm gonna like have no spells, and I'm like, well, I don't like, but like, I don't know. That feels a little bad to me. I don't know. I don't know if that's how you guys feel. Maybe I'm in the minority there. I don't know, but
I don't necessarily think you're in the minority. I will say, just based on watching some like replays and stuff, I understand your issue with the Ishizu cards because the Ishizu cards wouldn't be would the tier elements wouldn't be as dominant without Ishizu, but Ishizu would also not be as dominant without tier. Like the Ishizu cards by themselves do not have a win con,
yeah,
and
that's
I
true.
think that's something that if the Ishizu cards came out 3 years ago, nobody would like they would not be nearly as like dominant as they would not be in the same space. I think it's a combination of it coming out in the format that it in the with the cards that it came out with, and there's also not a there was no other competition for it. Like Sprite, like you said, a lot of decks deal with the graveyard, but there's also there are little counters to them. It more than ever, I think this format has shown that going first is the optimal play. If you cannot go first, you are actively hurting your ability to play.
Yeah.
And I think that's my bigger frustration with tier zero formats in general is just like I like when there's more deck diversity. I understand that yes, that Yu-Gi-Oh is a skill-based game, and the tier elements, more than I would argue any other tier 0 deck in history, has shown that you can make a deck that's interactive, which shows skill-based. Although part of the skill that people talk about, quote unquote, is what do your mills look like, which is not skill intensive; it's randomized. But there's a reality that Ishizu has shown that Ishizu tier has shown that there are tier 0 decks that can be interactive, more so than I think about like the FTKs that we've seen recently. Like I think about like Emancipator was a tier 0 deck,
It
and
wasn't fun to play against.
it was not, no, because no matter what, it's very similar to Ishizu tier, where no matter what you did, they were going to put up 6 negates, and you were going to hand trap them 4 times. Like you needed a 1 card starter to even do anything, and the
Mhm,
Emancipators got
mhm.
follow up. They like fought like immediately.
Yeah.
And
Mhm.
like the only deck that could compete was a deck that came out in this very similar time with Eldritch. Similarly, the only 2 decks that can really compete with the Shizu tier in any capacity are Sprite and Flunder. And I think that Joseph, I keep coming back to this point you made, which I think was really, really well made about like when people are playing, like they'll play a Shizu tier at the big events, but people are cooking up. I imagine people are cooking up a lot of spice for everything that's come out, because what I will say about Konami is like, yes, they released the Ishizu tier cards, but they've also released a lot of really good legacy support for a lot of stuff. Like
Yeah.
I think about MathMech, where like Circular single-handedly brought that deck back to life.
Mhm.
I think about the Dark World structure deck, where it gave other boss monsters, and it gave reasons to play additional cards. And as much as I hate Konami for some of the things that they do a good job, better than any other sort of trading card game, at saying we are going to make these older decks playable and
Like
make
And
people
Pendulum
want
you
to
came
play
can
them.
back,
you can actually play Crystal Beasts now.
and you can
And
play
in
Pendulum.
you can play
You can.
Pendulum.
Yeah. It's
They're
true.
like Super Heavy Samurai is coming back. Like, and it does make me envious, because I'm like, is there going to be like, for the other decks that I
Magnates.
play, Mech Knights, like I would love to have a Mech Knight that has Havness's effect to just special summon from hand. That would be great as a quick
Yeah.
effect. But
Mhm.
I recognize that like that's probably like I am a little concerned, because Nick, you brought up that the Bystials are like easier to deal with. I would argue I dislike the Bystials more because of they're very big, and I think
Yeah, they are.
they're going to be a bigger problem when tier elements are gone, because they're one of the only things that are sort of keeping them in check. But once tier elements are gone, I think the Bystials are going to be like, they're going to potentially replace certain cards as like staple hand traps,
Well,
and I
so I
feel
mean,
like
yeah,
they're too
yeah,
big.
they are. Yeah. I mean, just to like add to that, as someone who is like, I'm gonna buy them, and the reason is because if you look at any Exo Sister or Sky Striker list, you know how Sky Striker used to play like 40 hand traps because they had the
Hmm.
space. You
Yeah.
don't play any of those now. You play this steel package because they're all hand traps and they're big boys.
Yep.
And yeah, they're a longer term, a bigger problem longer term.
Hmm.
I don't think the Ishizu stuff is long for this world. I don't think that like when I'm feeling more negative, I'm like, yeah, the game is just gonna be like this now where no one can use the graveyard. That's obviously not true. But like it'll be like that for a bit. Also, just really quick sidebar.
Hmm.
The Mana Dome cards that got announced today, I think it's really neat that like there's like what's it called? Like Visas Starfrost has like these 4 different planets or whatever. I think it's neat. Like I said,
Cute.
I only have beef with the Ishizu cards. I really don't have a problem with the others. I might have beef with the Kashtira cards because I think locking 10 zones is like, all right, man. Like I don't know what's going on with that. But I guess we'll see if that comes to fruition. I don't remember hearing that happening in the OCG too much. I just remember hearing it was strong. So we'll see.
It was Kashtira tier elements. Like it's the thing where it's like a thing is released to counter the meta, and the meta is just like, no, we're just gonna absorb it. We're just gonna use it too.
Mhm.
Like the Bystials are an example where they were supposed to keep tier elements in check, and tier elements are like, oh, we'll just play them then. Like
Yeah, they do. Of course they
it'll
do.
stop
For the
these things.
for the mirror match.
Um,
Yeah.
George, what are your thoughts? We haven't heard from you in a bit.
I guess I haven't really well not really. I have played against. I was gonna say I haven't really played against them myself, but I have played it, and it's I don't know. I guess maybe because I play Full on the Reeds, I don't feel like it's a I don't know. I guess it's the big issue. I guess I'm in the minority when I say it's like neither the Bystials or the TR element the Shizu cards bother me right now. Because normally I don't have anything in my graveyard. But yeah,
But
I
you
mean,
said that you said you stopped playing MathMech because it
oh
got
yes,
power
yeah,
crept.
oh yeah, no, absolutely. I can. Then if I played MathMech, then no, there's literally nothing I can do.
Mhm.
Which is very upsetting because I had a lot of fun with MathMech. Once Recital Starling actually came off the
Mhm.
came back to semi. I wanted to play them, Lyrillus Tri Brigade, but it's like for what,
Yeah.
Exactly. Yeah.
it's nowhere near as good as it used to be. So I mean, I
Yeah.
can see I mean, I do see the frustration, and I mean, but to be honest, it's this is the format that we're going to be playing in for like the foreseeable future.
Mhm.
It's not going to go away. The only thing we can do is just wait it out, I guess. Because I mean, so here's the thing, right? It's technically not a tier 0 format anymore. I think because the last big event, Shizu tier only represented I think like 56%. So technically, it's not tier 0. Um, but yeah, I mean, I don't know.
It's
What
just
event?
people
What
getting
event? What
tired of
event
the
was?
deck.
What event was that? I don't even know what you're talking about.
Yeah,
Was it the remote tool YCS?
I think it was a remote.
Oh, that
It
was that. Oh, I thought you meant an
was over the
IRL
weekend,
event.
right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, yeah. I
I
think it was.
Yeah.
I sent you. I sent all of you that thing
Yeah.
with
I
like
think
the top decks. Yeah.
I think
Yeah.
the top four were 2 Flunder, 2 Shizu tier.
Yeah, I think Joseph's
Yeah.
right though. I don't think that speaks to the deck. I think people are just getting bored, man. It's weird because Yu-Gi-Oh's like in a place where there's a lot of reasons to not like certain things about some trends, but then there's also like a lot of really cool stuff. Like I think it's awesome that you can play Dark World, and I think it's really
Yeah.
neat that my little GX heart you can play Crystal Beasts. I think that's
Mhm.
rad. um, yeah, it's weird. I don't know, man.
I mean, you can play
It's weird.
Crystal Beast right now because they can search Necro Valley, they can search Zombie World, and they can play with Shifter.
Yeah,
Oof,
the
man.
one trend that I really hope Konami gives up on is uh nobody gets the graveyard. I don't like that trend. I hope that stops. But I don't mind like DD Crow and stuff like that.
Mhm.
But when they're like, no, Necro Valley and also Macrocosmos and also Dimensional Fissure, I'm like, I don't know. I don't know if that's enjoyable. And it's like that joke you made once, Mel. If they're gonna go that way, can you just like tell us where the Banished Zone is, like officially? Is that a thing you can do?
Yeah.
Can you just like let
Yeah.
us know real
That's
quick?
just
So
tell. It's
they
where.
might make a card that's like, if this card is in your graveyard, it's unaffected by cards.
Mm.
Oh
Interesting.
man, but that could be so problematic for so many things depending on the card. Oh man. I will say like there's a couple like just to go back to looping back around to a point that all three of you made. There's a lot of decks bubbling underneath. There's some really cool exo builds. There's some
Mhm.
really cool hero builds coming out because Unshuffle is cool. And there's
Mhm.
that terrible negate that you can actually play that I thought was really bad, but it's not as bad as I thought, but it's kind of bad, but it's not that bad. And like there's a lot of neat things that
Mhm.
are they just have to, that's why like playing with you all and doing mostly rogue, like it's honestly pretty fun. It really
Yeah.
is. It's
I've
nice.
on the topic of like still decks that we were building, so forgot to mention, but I'm big into 5Ds, and that's what I grew up with. And I was very excited to play Synchron, but that got gutted, completely gutted,
Yeah.
with
Yeah.
the Chaos
With both
Dragon being
and
banned.
Hulk.
Well, no, that deck didn't play Hulk because
Oh, it didn't.
it gets locked into synchros like very
Oh.
early in the combo. It was just a Chaos Dragon because it cut our combo lines to Red Heart Dragon Archfiend, which is like
Mm.
very important. But with that said, I'm also been cooking up Black Wings,
Oh
and
yeah.
it's one of those OG decks from high school that I really used to love. I used to
Mhm.
play Black Wings slash Sphinx slash Harpy Lady deck back in the day. And the Sphinx were cool.
Oh
It was
yeah.
that one structure deck with
Yeah.
the pyramid trap card, and then there was like 3 Sphinxes, and I was like, oh, I'll summon all the Blackwings and I'll tribute them. Uh,
The
LOL.
and
Sphinx is from the
I
movie.
I don't remember. I don't recall if it is from the movie or not. There's like 3 Sphinxes, and then you sacrifice all 3 of them, and you make the gigantic Sphinx.
Oh,
It's
the
like
yeah, I
a
know what
Zenwing?
you're
rock
talking.
deck,
Are you
Yeah.
talking about
Okay.
pyramid? Are you talking about Pyramid of Light?
something like. I'm pretty
I
sure.
My
think
I think
God.
so.
Yeah,
That's
I
funny.
see. That's actually another one I forgot about Black Wings. It's really cool that you can play that now, basically. and it's
Well, they're
not
kind of
like
like
just super.
heroes. They're the hero version of
Yeah.
the 5Ds era. They always get
No, it's
support.
cool. Yeah, it's cool. I like
Like
that. I think
they
that's awesome.
they just got more support announced too.
Yeah, I think that's
Yeah.
awesome. I think that like what a lot of what's kept the community happy because is a lot of people basically more or less uh gentlemansing out of playing tier when you're like with your friends. Unless you're like preparing for a tournament, then you're gonna play the
Right.
mirrors, right? But if you're just like hanging out, if rolls up and he's like, I'm gonna play Ishizu tier. I'm like, I mean, all right. I mean, if you want, you're gonna win, right? Like the only deck I have that can compete is Flu, and it's like you really have to draw right with Flu for that to work. It's or Open Shifter, and that doesn't even matter anymore. Honestly, you can Open Shifter and it hurts, but then they just chain everything, and it's like it's all this stuff.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, I was gonna say it feels like I think I saw Winter Kills was on YouTube. He is part of he and his local tournament scene did something. I think they called it Heart of the Underdog. Although I don't know if that's the official name of it, but it's essentially those tournaments where you essentially are like these archetypes are banned and these additional cards are banned.
Oh
And then you
yeah.
kind of, which I thought was really cool because then it's like, I think the first match that they showed was like Cyber Dragon versus Utopia. And it's like, you
See,
wouldn't
that's
see
like
that at even a regular locals because
That's
people are
true.
like, I don't get to
Try
like,
hearts.
yeah, you'd get like, you get people who are like, I want to play Flunder because I want to win packs. And it's like, I think one of their things is like I don't know if they're splitting the prizing, but if I was to ever run a tournament like that, I would be like, we're just going to split the prizing. Maybe first place gets one extra pack, but the idea is just to have fun and play with the decks, not necessarily to win a pack. It's like pay $5, everybody gets a pack, top person gets maybe an extra pack or like a mat or something. But
yeah.
Yeah,
Yeah.
that'd be cool.
I will say just and then maybe we can talk about something else. But the only other thing I'll say is just again, I think a lot about like how cards should be designed in Yu-Gi-Oh. Something that bothers me a little is I guess how do I say this? Uh Prime Planet does too much. Like that field spell is like basically when you play it, it's like, do you want to win? Play this field spell. And then like it does literally everything. And I feel like that's a little silly. I feel like that card, the effects on that card could have been split up into like two cards. Not two field spells, but two cards. Like, why does it have a pop? I don't know. It just feels like it's doing too much. And I generally don't like when Konami's like, yeah, we'll just make the field spell super cracked. I'm like, I don't know. Like, it's just a little bit like boring, I guess. Or it's like, I don't know why they do that. I'm gonna be honest with you. I actually really have no idea why they do that. I don't know why that's a thing they do.
I feel like most field spells are pretty powerful to begin with.
most
They
recent
really
one.
are.
Most
Most
recent.
recent, they
right.
really are. And I guess that's just maybe I don't know if you guys have insight. I don't know why they do that. I'm not sure
I
what the
mean,
logic is.
if you look at it like an archetype, like almost if your field spell is worth any weight in gold or any weight at all, it's going to search. It's going to at the very least search you something, search you a card, and then it's going to do something that helps the archetype. Like I know that Prime Planet gets a lot of hate, but Flundery's map is the only reason that Flunder is able to play on your turn consistently.
Yeah.
Yeah, that field spell's crazy. Yeah, it's crazy.
Particularly when they put up barrier statue, because it's like I can't special a win, so I have to normal summon to kill the barrier statue, and then they rise at
Mhm.
you. The labyrinth field spell is, or the I guess is it a field spell
Yeah,
or is
yeah,
it like
it's
yeah
the labyrinth field spell.
yeah where it's just like it adds an addition like that's also a very strong field spell, and I
Yeah, it
think
is.
that if I think it's okay to have field spells do that as long as all archetypes get one. Because I think
Yeah.
that's the concept that archetypes should get their own field spell because then it becomes kind of and it mimics their mechanic. Like, I could see like a Mech Knight field spell. Well, I mean they have three, but a new one saying like you can take a card on your field and move it to another column once per turn or something like that as a quick effect or something. Because I think that would be cool. Because
Yeah.
like when they play into the archetypes, I think that um, my bigger issue is I don't like the field spell sucks. My bigger issue is just the lack of restriction on things. That
Yeah.
Yeah,
really like
yeah.
that's irritating because I did not realize until I watched a video today from I think it's Monkey Flip TCG or something. I don't remember his name, but he was doing ranking all the decks and he was like, oh, one of the bigger strengths with tier elements is that it can just they have no restrictions. Like they don't lock you into fusion summoning, they don't lock you into water, they don't lock you into anything. And I feel like that gets me. That's a little bit more frustrating than I would say the
Except for
field
water.
spell.
Yeah, I fully agree with you. Fully agree. Like when you were like, "Oh, I wish my deck had a Havness." Yeah, man, same. I wish Heroes had a fucking Havness. That would be fantastic. But instead, I have like 18 different locks on my cards, and it's like it just feels a little unfair, right? Like when you're like, "Oh, you're playing tier and you have no restrictions on anything." And then I'm playing Heroes and I'm like, "Oh, I used Faris so that I could play, so now I'm locked into Heroes." Like, I don't know. That feels bad. But that's a discussion for another time.
Yeah, the other day I was well, actually, when I was looking into the OCG ban list, I was looking into somebody had mentioned a comment about a potential change in the master rule, and then I kind of went back and I'm like, how often does the master rule change? Do you guys know?
It's changed 4 times.
Well, 5
Seems
times.
random. I think I don't know if the time.
So here's just kind of like an idea. So the first master rule apparently came out, or the first iteration anyway, was in 2008, and then in 2011 they revised it and named it Master Rule 2. Master Rule 3 came out 3 years later. Master Rule 4 came out 4 years after that, and in 2017. And then we know Master Rule 5 came out like late 2019, early 2020, which was another 3 years. I mean, if we're going kind of by like that same pattern, um, it's I mean, there's a possibility that there might be a Master Rule 6 coming out. Like,
Oh
what do you guys
yeah.
think about that?
I don't even
I,
know what would happen with that,
I
man.
would like to get 2 decks at once. So you can
Well, yeah,
play
no,
with
you
me.
so the decks have to be 90 degrees angled apart, and you can either draw from your horizontal or your vertical deck.
There you go.
You roll a
Yeah.
die for it.
And you roll a die for it. I think so. The only thing I would say to that, because I actually have no idea what could possibly change in Master Rule other than unrestricting Pendulum. They could do that, but the only thing I could think of, George, with that would be back in the day, a lot of Master Rule changes were tied to like new anime, and they seem to be moving away from that because the most recent anime is actually its own card game. So I'm not sure. I'm not sure.
You talking about Rush Duels?
Yeah, and I really, really
Uh,
hope that if they do make a new Master Rule, I really, really don't want them to include a new summoning mechanic. I really don't want that. I really
Gonna
don't.
happen.
I
Oh
could,
man.
yeah. I I'm trying to think of like what are the things that could change, right? The first thing that I think about is like the summoning mechanic. I think after that I go deck size. Like they can either create a larger extra deck, a smaller extra deck. I could also see them changing tournament play to go from not best of 3 anymore to make it so that going first is not such a huge advantage. Um,
Like
Oh,
Resetable?
that's interesting, Mel. But then the time would have to change. I'm sorry. Keep going. Keep going.
Yeah. Time rules are also like I'm thinking like there's the gameplay mechanics that could change, and then there's the tournament mechanics that could change. Because right now Yu-Gi-Oh is more popular than it's ever been,
Mhm.
particularly in the competitive scene. And so I think that I was listening to Farfa for his on his like set week-long stream. He had a judge on like a basically he was like a super professional judge, and
Uh-huh.
his justification for a lot of the things that Konami does made a lot of sense. And he was like, Konami doesn't they have to do things in a way that is sort of meets all of the audiences, not just the competitive audience. And that made me
Mm.
think a lot about like what could a like the the game currently is very difficult to get into, and I think Konami recognizes that in a way, and that's what they're trying to do with these new formats and sort of speed duels and rush duels and cross duel. So I wonder if there is a move to make the mechanics a little bit more friendly. Like I think about Duel Links, where they have a forbidden limited list, but it works differently than the TCG. And I wonder if there's like a value to being like you can only have 3 types of extract monsters or 2 types of extract monsters or something like that.
Oh, that would be really interesting. I wonder,
Right.
maybe, yeah.
Because that would
Mhm.
change deck building and it would make it so that you have to be very like wombo combo decks are a lot more difficult to pull off, and it makes it a lot harder to create those giant multi-negate boards um, because of the sort of restrictions that you have, and it makes cards like um, what's it called? It makes cards like what's that one that just came out that cares about the extra deck type that you send to negate?
Unicorn.
Slayer. No, Slayer.
Oh,
Ultimate
Slayer.
Slayer.
Mhm.
Yeah, where like now you have to think about like for a deck like Flunder, it's like you obviously you don't really play an extra deck, but you know, if you're only limited to Xyz and Link, for example, is like two, what happens at like then you have to change up your deck building because it's like, what if I run into a fusion deck that only fuses?
Oh, interesting. Okay. Yeah, I
That's
could see
I
that.
can't I'm not I don't know what else they could do, but I do think that Konami is very aware that the game is very hard to get into right now.
Honestly,
Big
man.
I think like
Sorry, Joseph. Go ahead. Go ahead.
sorry, I think like simplifying the rules would definitely get more people into it. Because to be honest, like you remember when we were playing uh with Alberto, he like some of the things we were trying to explain to him, kind of like as you're saying it, it kind of sounds like ass backwards, and it's like, well, yeah, I guess you're right. Like it doesn't make sense, but hey, the rules are the rules. You just got to follow them. You know what I mean? Another thing that I think that could change is getting rid of missing timing. I feel
I
like
strong agree.
I feel
Strong.
like that's something that it's very hard to explain, right? Almost to the point where it's like I don't even know if you're telling me the truth right now. Let's call a judge, and then when you get a judge in, it's just like it extends the game further than it needs to be. I think that like that whole missing timing thing needs to go away. I understand like they're trying to make like they're trying to keep the game as I guess is they're not trying to change it too much, right? And some people might disagree about timing is like you should read your cards and read the rules or whatever. And I agree, but if you're trying to cater to a bigger audience and trying to get more people into the game, then I think the missing timing is something that needs to go.
Yeah.
I think that a very fundamental part of the game, the timing rules. Honestly, I think it would be easily solved if you
Wait, hold on.
gave
When you say timing, you mean like 40
like
minutes
the
per
40
round?
minute,
Oh, sure, sure.
40 minutes. So
Mhm.
make it 46 minutes and then give each player 23-minute timer.
Oh,
And
like
then they clock
chess.
exactly. So then they
Mm.
would clock in on that. And if once your time's done, well, your time's done, and then your opponent has like goes on time, and then he has the remaining time of his turn to like play out what he needs to play, and that would still equate to 46 minutes. So that way, it's fair for both sides. Like you're playing a combo deck, sure, you can't stall out anymore. Like now you have to play
Yeah,
your
yeah,
combos
yeah.
well.
I know what you mean.
So it's like I
I
feel
like
like that
that.
would be way
Mhm.
more fair than just having the current time rules.
I really like that idea, actually. And I say this every time when we talk about the next master rule, but I remain convinced that it would solve some problems but break other things. I still think they should limit the number of times that you special summon because it's supposed to be special. And it's
Oh
not.
my
It's just
God,
basic.
Yugi Boomer.
I mean, like I don't have a lot of Yu-Gi Boomer takes because I actually like modern Yu-Gi-Oh in a lot of ways, but honestly, dude, like it's pretty ridiculous that special summoning is no longer special, so I'm not really sure why we have like I think it's stupid. I don't like it. I think it just opens the floodgates for a
How
lot of
about we
abuse.
rename it extra summon?
No, I don't know what you can make it. Maybe you can special summon 10 times in a turn. I don't know. And if your deck can't do what it needs to do in 10 special summons, then I don't know, man. But I think that it is ripe for abuse. I think
Can
like
heroes
very ripe
even
for abuse.
play?
With 10, sure.
Yes.
5, maybe you have to draw right with 5. With 10, 100%. You could do everything you need to do in 10 for sure.
Um, I think I saw somebody say something about end of fate, like with the related to time rules, like instead of end of the current phase, end of the turn. And again, I think Konami is thinking about how the what's it called? How they set up what we're going to do. It just feels like it's a hard balance that they have to do. And I do not envy their position, but again, they're at the height of their popularity right now, and I think that particularly with everything going on with Wizards of the Coast and stuff, they have a chance to definitely get in a more advantageous space.
Hmm.
Yeah,
Um,
yeah, man.
yeah.
Agreed.
All right. Well, that was us. I think we're going because of our new recording style. Hopefully, it works out. We should be able to record a little bit more often. Hopefully, get you an episode at least once a month. But we'll see if
Ideally,
we can
yeah.
get more.
Mhm.
Ideally, at least once a month. But if you have any feedback, feel free to comment, shoot us a message, let us know. We're happy to make adjustments as needed. But this was fun. This was Heart of the Podcast. I'm Mel.
I'm Joseph.
I'm
I'm
Joseph.
Increase. I'm Nick.
See you later.
We'll work on the outro.
Yeah,
See
we
ya.
gotta work it out.
We're MSTC. We'll see you next time.
Do 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 do.